years of injury and frustration. Then it was Kathy Baker, fresh-faced and confident, winning the Women's Open at age 24. It was the very first victory of her professional career. Now we've crossed the sea to England for the oldest of all the championships, the British Open. Does another surprise await us? An unusually small American expeditionary force departed from New York last Monday on the supersonic Concorde, headed for the Royal St. George's Links at Sandwich, England. St. George's has launched the careers of many great players of the game. In 1894, the first time the Open was held outside Scotland, the winner was J.H. Taylor. It was his first Open win, but before he was done, he would win 5 of them. 5 years later at St. George's, it was the turn of Harry Vardon, who invented the overlapping grip used by most golfers today. For Vardon, it was victory number 3, but he would win 6 Opens in all, more than any other man. In 1922, a charming rascal from America, Walter Hagen, won his first British Open here at St. George's. In the next 7 years, he won 3 more, including another on the same links at Sandwich. In 1934, Britain's own hero, Henry Cotton, won his first Open at St. George's. There were 2 more in his future. After World War II, Bobby Lott, a deceptively rotund South African in +4s, dazzled the experts by taking the championship. And again, a string of victories for him started at St. George's. Well, this week, the Americans arrived to make their challenge as other golfers converged on the village of Sandwich from everywhere the game of golf is played. An Australian and a German led the way into the final round today. David Graham, the Australian, long resident in America, has won the U.S. Open and our PGA. Now he tries to make it 3 of the 4 majors in his career. He was weary at the end yesterday. Bernhard Langer, the son of a German bricklayer, is a phenomenon. The current Masters champion from a country where golf is about as popular as team handball is in America. Behind the leaders, golfers from 5 other countries are still in the chase. Will this ancient course launch another first-time winner on a string of Open wins? Will it see another unexpected champion in this summer of surprises? We'll find out as ABC Sports brings you live coverage across the ocean by satellite. ABC Sports and the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, Scotland, invite you to the playing of the final round of the British Open Golf Championship at the Royal St. George's Golf Club in the town of Sandwich, county of Kent, England. What is so rare as a day in June, the British poet asked? Well, the answer is a day like this in July at the Royal St. George's Golf Club, where the hurricane warnings and dire predictions of heavy rain and wild winds have not come to pass this Sunday. Instead, we have bright sunshine, a lovely summer day, although the breeze that cools the air still will be very much a factor in the playing of today's final round. So it's one more time around Old St. George's with the trophy and the winner's purse waiting at the end. And there have already been dramatic developments in this championship. Look at that. At the top of the leaderboard, suddenly, 3 under par for the day, Tom Kite of the United States. When the 3rd round began yesterday morning, there was only 1 American in the top 12, D.A. Wybring Jr., and he was well down the line. Now, however, the old saying that the cream will rise to the top seems to be coming true. It always seems to be a little more true in golf than in other sports. You see the other leaders there, and you can see other Americans, Fuzzy Zeller, Mark O'Meara, among the 7 nations that are represented in the top 9 at the moment. I'm Jim McKay reporting live from Old Royal St. George's here just on the border of the North Sea where it joins into the English Channel. Let's bring in right away, as the excitement really begins to mount here, our expert on the sport, former captain of the United States Ryder Cup team and a man who did play extremely well in this championship more than once, Dave Marr. Well, the cast of characters is changing swiftly.
Well, I had my speech all said about David Graham and Bernhard Langer being the 2 favorites, obviously, the co-leaders when the round started. Now, what are the odds on a young boy from Australia turning professional at the age of 14, winding up playing with the German Bernhard Langer, the present Masters champion, who turned pro at the age of 13, and they're playing in the last pairing of the 114th British Open. I thought that Langer would get off to a little bit better start than he did. He bogeyed the first hole. David Graham bogeyed the first hole. And they both bogeyed number 4. Tom Kite off to a good start. But David Graham has won 2 major championships, a very tough player. He looked a little tired when he finished yesterday. Langer, I thought, may be a little fresher. He's a little younger. He'll be 28 years old next month. A very fine player and a very tough player. But then all of a sudden, Tom Kite. A lot of people don't give Tom much credit for his game, but I think that Tom has probably worked as hard as anyone, with the exception of Tom Watson on the practice tee. He's one of the first out on the practice tee and one of the last to finish. He's taken a little bit of talent, I think, and really worked hard, Jim, and has become a world-class player, and this is his best chance to win an Open.
I think so far it's interesting that Bernhard Langer missed about a 2-foot putt on the first hole, and it was an old bad habit of his. We thought it disappeared. Right now, though, let's take a look at some of the idiosyncrasies of this very unusual golf course at Royal St. George's.
It's unusual in that it's a par 70. Most courses over here are par 72, but a very tough test at 6,857 yards. And, Jim, when you talk about tough tests, Royal St. George's may be the toughest of the 7 golf courses they use in the championship rotation. There's a lot of shots that you have blind shots. You almost never get a level lie. This is the shot that you see from the first tee that a player opens up with, a blind tee shot to the first hole, shooting to sort of a turtleback situation. A lot of the fairways are like that. A little bit to the right, and you get a kick to the right. A little to the left, you get a kick to the left. And if you go into the short rough, you can still have a chance to play the shot. But when you get to the tall rough, and I'll spell that with about 3 R's opening up.
Amber waves of grain.
Absolutely. It's as bad as any Open Championship I've seen since 1966 at Muirfield. Once you're in there, just try to get it back to the fairway. Bunkers here, I'll never forget the bunker here at the 4th hole. Player, depending on the wind, you might have to drive to the left of this bunker. With no wind, you can drive over it, shortening the hole quite a bit.
Could spend your vacation there.
And some have. This is the Suez Canal at the par 5 14th, which may be the toughest driving hole in golf right there. Wonderful par 5.
Okay, a look at Royal St. George's, and now our live cameras focus on Tom Kite, suddenly the new leader in the British Open Golf Championship. He has never won a major championship. Suddenly, the opportunity is here.
Wonderful par 4. You drive up to the top of the hill and shoot down into this green. Stands behind the green.
Ed Snead is with that group.
He did not have a very good lie, but he's done very well with it. It looks like he's going to be on the front of the green.
That's where he wound up, in fact, Ed, and it's got a long putt there. You can get on some of these greens, but no, you're not assured of a par once you're on them.
Well, here's the way it stands now. Kite suddenly by 1 over Langer of Germany and David Graham of Australia. Then Fuzzy Zeller, the former United States Open champion. Sandy Lyle of Scotland. Mark O'Meara, another American, and the others that you saw on that board. That is what we call in the United States a cherry picker in the distance there with a camera up on top of it for the BBC. Bernhard Langer now.
Again, this shows you, Jim, the kind of view that a player has. There's so many things seemingly in your way, blocking the view you might have to the flag.
Bob Rosberg's with that group.
He's hit a beautiful shot and just trickles off the left edge. And I'll tell you, that's what you can do. He is not 25 feet from the hole and has a very, very difficult shot.
So the battle is joined, and there's much more to come. Yes, we're at the British Open. Championship conducted every year, as it has been for over 100 years, by the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, Scotland, which also makes the rules of the game in conjunction with the United States Golf Association. Now we have David Graham, who was tied for the lead when the day began, now has gone to 1 over, 2 over on the day's round, as has his fellow competitor of the day, Bernhard Langer, with whom he was tied when the afternoon started. Each of them 1 shot behind Tom Kite now. Hold it. Dave, he looks pretty tired again today. It's been a long, hard, tiring week in this championship, but now over to Kite.
Weather makes you tired. Jim, playing so hard, as all the players have done that are here, obviously. They've played in a lot of bad weather.
Long approach putt on the par 4 hole. Still cameras clicking.
Beautiful putt. That's good from there, though.
Yep, very good. Now on the 18th, the 5-time winner of this championship, Tom Watson of Kansas City. On this occasion, 6 over for the day, 13 over for the championship. So that will be a round of 76, it appears, for Tom Watson. He just needs 1 more of these championships to tie Harry Barton for the most British Opens ever won. 77, finally. Got another bogey on 18th hole. Mark O'Meara. He's 2 over, 2 out of the lead on the 7th hole, 3rd shot. On the 7th hole, which is a par 5 of 529 yards.
Nice little pitch and run there.
Yep.
Boy, he's hit a lot of good shots this week. Mark has played very, very well.
He's won himself a lot of money this year as he did last year, and certainly seems like a major championship is in Mark O'Meara's future, if not today, at some time. A look at some of the other Americans, you'll see that most of those have finished their rounds. 18-hole means they're all done for this championship. Corey Pavin and Lee Trevino still out on the course. Trevino doing the best of that group at 7 over. He's 7 out of the lead, however. Now longer. We'll find out if he is at the end today.
You mean boss?
Yeah. This is for a par, by the way. Big putt. Nope, so he's dropped another stroke. And as I said at the beginning, Dave, putting, particularly short putts, used to be a major problem of his. He almost seemed to have the yips at the age of 20, but with the cross-handed grip he's been using some of the time, he seemed to have solved those problems with leading putter on the European Tour last year. Ian Woosnam of Wales. This is for a birdie, and you see he's only 3 out of the lead. Need a little more. Kite for the par. To keep the lead. Yes, indeed. Tom Kite Jr. on the shores of the English Channel, leading the British Open Championship. Tom Kite of Texas leading the British Open Golf Championship as we come to you live from Royal St. George's. Fuzzy Zoeller now within 2 shots of the lead. David Graham still there, although he's dropping back along with Bernhard Langer, Sandy Lyle, Christy O'Connor of Ireland. 7 men within 2 shots of the lead at this point. Let's meet now our ABC colleague, Jack Whitaker.
Thank you very much, Jim. A few people have been saying that this year's British Open has been a dull affair, and of course the answer to that is only to people with dull minds. Yes, it's a disappointment, perhaps, that Jack Nicklaus didn't make the cut. And the British press had practically granted the title to Seve Ballesteros on Wednesday before a shot was fired, and he's struggling at 9 over entering the final round. But nevertheless, whoever wins today will have beaten a marvelous field on a difficult golf course under weather conditions that at times were excruciating. Because the British Open, in Duke Ellington's marvelous phrase, is beyond category. And whoever wins it today will have won a very precious title. Now, let's meet our roving reporters, Bob Rosberg and Ed Sneed.
Thank you, Jack. Ed, how do you feel about those American players, the real good ones, that would have had a chance to win the British Open if they had decided to come and decided not to?
Well, Bob, you know, I think more has been made in the American press than in the press over here about those players that did not show up. I don't think those players owe anyone an explanation. They don't have to explain why they chose to come or why they chose not to come. I think it's their decision. This is the British Open. It's one of the major championships. To be recognized as a truly great player, a player must prove that he can win everywhere in the world. And this championship at this point, I don't think misses those players. The player that wins today is going to win a major championship, and I think the players that don't take advantage of a chance to win this tournament are the foolish ones. They're the losers.
The conditions today are much better. The wind is not blowing too hard, maybe 10 to 15 miles an hour, and it's a lot warmer than it has been. I think that might tend to help David Graham. He looked quite tired yesterday after finishing his round and battling the elements for 3 days, while Langer looked pretty fresh. I think it also gives a chance to one of the players coming from behind to shoot maybe 64 or 5, like Christy O'Connor did the first day, and capture it all. We'll have to wait and see as the final round of the British Open unfolds. Now let's get back to that final round and more golf.